our plan is for Lawrence to be the next PM.
15 of the 19 stakeholders chose Minister Lawrence Wong as their preferred leader.
Throughout my life, I've never hankered for post, position, or power. I've always been realistic about my own abilities and strengths. And if my best falls short, as it surely will from time to time, I try to learn and I strive to improve and do better. Now I will be taking on what would possibly be the biggest responsibility of my life.
PM told me that my task was not only to ascertain who has the strongest support from the ministers, but to do so in such a way as to foster a consensus and bring the team together. I therefore took a team-building approach to facilitate forthright and candid discussions of each potential candidate's strengths and weaknesses. Our overriding objective is to promote unity and to ensure a strong 4G team to lead Singapore forward. After the budget and COS, I interviewed the stakeholders individually for their views on their preferred choice other than themselves, and asked them to rank the potential candidates in order of their preference. At each interview, I took the stakeholders through the key political leadership attributes to encourage them to make a considered and dispassionate decision. The stakeholders were candid in their assessments. They were emphatic in wanting to pick the candidate with unquestionable commitment to Singapore, who inspires trust both from Singaporeans and among his team of office holders and MPs, who has the backs of his colleagues and is most able to unite them to serve the nation. Who will they choose as their leader based on their overall assessment, bearing in mind the need for the leader to bring others together and to win elections? 15 of the 19 stakeholders chose Minister Lawrence Wong as their preferred leader. This is an overwhelming majority of 79%, way above the traditional supermajority benchmark of 2/3. I reported these findings to the ministers and the PAP MPs on Thursday, and they all collectively endorsed the choice of Minister Lawrence Wong as the leader of the 4G team. None of the others named garnered more than 2 votes. The interviews were carried out over 3 weeks. Each interview took up to an hour. The stakeholders were very candid, and in turn, I assured them of full confidentiality. Only overall results and anonymized findings were shared, and even then on an as-need basis. Now that we have a clear outcome, there is really no need for me to discuss who was the second or the third choice. Suffice to say that Lawrence was the first choice of an overwhelming majority.
如果有一位大家都信任的党内资深领导人，单独与各位部长见面，聆听大家的意见，部长们便可以更坦诚而且放心地分享各自的看法、顾虑以及心目中的人选。这个方式将比较稳当、比较深入，而选出来的领导呢，也更能体现大家最真实的选择。许文远是行动党前主席，他认识每一位内阁成员，也深得大家的信任，所以他最适合执行这项任务。If there are different concerns and different views and different concerns, then the concerns can be surfaced without it being a personalized I like you, I don't like you matter. And then people can think it over again and maybe reconsider their conclusion, but we want you to be in a collected, dispassionate, almost Zen state of mind when you say, I think for Singapore, this is the best choice. Putting aside personal preferences, ambitions, and biases. And we felt that a more systematic way of doing this, rather than all sit down and then we nod our heads politely, is to have a process, and we concluded that Mr. Kobun Wan is the best person to lead the process. I'm already 70, and I'm looking forward to handing over to Lawrence once he's ready. This settling of the succession, we've already taken a very important step in the leadership renewal. One factor to take into account in when to do the transition will be the next general election, which will be due by 2025. I will discuss with Lawrence, and we will decide later what's the best strategy for us to fight the next general election, whether for me to hand over to him first, he consolidates, he leads into the next election, it's clearly the 4G team and will be in charge after the next election, or I go into the next election leading the PAP, fight the next election, win, and if we win, after that, Lawrence takes over, and then the 4G team goes forward. It will depend on how things evolve. It's something which we will decide later on. But either way, our plan is for Lawrence to be the next PM if the PAP wins the next GE. And that has been settled. And the reaction from the public over the last 2 days shows that I think many people are happy we've taken this decision and are happy with the decision. We've done it different ways. In the case of Mr. Goh Chok Tong, the 2G, we had Mr. Goh Chok Tong as one DPM, clearly identified as the successor, and at the same time supported by Mr. Ong Teng Cheong, who was second DPM. In my case, the ministers settled on me, and later on I appointed deputy prime ministers, a series of them. In the case of Mr. Heng Swee Keat and Mr. Chan Chun Sing, on that occasion, the ministers who caucused, who were involved, thought that they wanted to have a pairing and that would be the best choice. In this case, the exercise was to choose the leader of the 4G team. It was not to choose his deputy. It was not to choose a 5G leader. Therefore, there was no decision made on the deputy, and in due course, Lawrence will decide who will be his deputy and who will be in his core team. And I hope he and his colleagues will work hard to identify and induct more promising leaders into the team to build up the 5G team for Singapore.
While it is an overwhelming majority in the first instance, as Boon Wan mentioned just now, when this was presented, both to Cabinet and the caucus, everyone unanimously at that stage agreed and supported the choice. So in that regard, I don't feel the pressure. Now I will be taking on what would possibly be the biggest responsibility of my life. I am under no illusions about the demands of the job. It will get more challenging with greater political contestation and the growing desire for diversity in Parliament. I am humble and grateful for the support that everyone has given to me. But I also am fully aware that the mandate ultimately comes from the people, and I do not take that for granted. We all know by when the next GE must be held. So in due course, we will discuss, we will work out our strategy to fight the GE, and we will work hard to fight for the privilege to serve the people of Singapore in government. There are many challenges ahead of us. There are some more pressing and immediate ones. The pandemic is not over. We have to get through it. There are considerable economic challenges to tackle arising from the war in Ukraine, not least the threat of higher and more persistent inflation and weaker growth. But beyond these immediate issues, we also need to look over the horizon. There are going to be more challenges in the coming years as we enter this new, uncertain, volatile environment. We do intend to engage the public later on and comprehensively review our policies to see what needs to be adjusted and improved. So this will be a major agenda for the 4G team. But beyond that, we will, as a team, continue to work hard to win the trust and support of every Singaporean, to create bonds and connect with them, and to develop new ideas that will resonate with Singaporeans, and especially with a new generation of Singaporeans. I fully recognize the growing diversity of experiences and perspectives amongst Singaporeans. And I would like every Singaporean to know and feel that they will always have a stake in our society, even as we chart our new way forward together. And as leader of the team, that will be the approach, the attitude, and the spirit I adopt.